Hi, this is Ones to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby Kenna, and today I'm joined by Cate Tomlinson.
What's up, everyone?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy to be here.
I had to ask, does every single person ever ask you if you're related to Louis Tomlinson? Is that like a trend in your life?
In middle school, it was. I honestly was on like the tail end of the One Direction fan base. I was a little too young for it to be super into it, but I remember my first day of middle school, they put up like family pictures of all of the new students with like their last names, and I got like flocked by a group of 8th graders, and they were like, "Are you related to Louis Tomlinson?" And I was like, "Maybe I am."
You said yes?
Yeah. No, I'm not, unfortunately.
I had a friend in 5th grade who started a rumor that she was related to Miley Cyrus.
Oh gosh.
And that like followed us for our entire
would do it
ever. So I was like, I really hope you rode that wave.
I did my best. I wish I was more of a 1D stan. That was such an era to be a part of.
I missed it too. I was a little too pretentious. I was like, I don't
it's like the Justin
bands.
Bieber thing. I was like, I'm not a fan of Justin Bieber. Meanwhile, I'm like 13 years in. I was like, I can go back and admit it. Yeah,
I know. It's really upsetting because I do love the music, but like I couldn't let go of my shame enough when I was younger.
Yeah.
So
I'm right there with you.
Yes. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We had such a dire like intro conversation talking about the Topanga fires.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I know.
Sorry.
People are evacuating where I live. But I didn't get the evacuation notice. So I was like, hello.
I love that.
All I know about fires is you're not supposed to touch the doorknobs.
You know, that's a good one to know. That's a niche tip.
You can just knock down the door with your foot.
I fear this one might be a little bit past that at this point.
I suppose. Hopefully my house is still, my place is still there when I go home.
Crazy vibes to start the new year off.
Yeah, but you know what? Starting off with a bang, nevertheless.
Yeah. How were your holidays? You said you're from the Bay. Did you go up?
Yeah. I grew up in Palo Alto.
Okay.
So that's where I went back for the holidays. And honestly, Christmas is probably my favorite time of year. I'm really tight with my family. I have a little brother.
Sweet.
And we're kind of like, I have a very special family. We're like a friend group.
That's cute.
So I always look forward to going back and seeing them.
Yeah.
But yeah. What'd you do for the holidays?
Oh, thanks for asking. I went home to New Jersey.
Love.
I have a big Italian family. We do like Feast of the Seven Fishes.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
That sounds like something out of that's from The Bear.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That is crazy that you said that because my brother has made the bear his whole personality.
Yeah, well, there's that iconic episode with the 7 fishes.
Yep.
The 7 fish.
And
Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine. He doesn't look like Jeremy Allen White, but he really wants to. So he like grew his hair out and he's like doing the Jeremy Allen White like swoop.
Yeah, I fear Jeremy Allen White is the new Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, blueprint. And I was like, I didn't think it was going to be you, Jimmy Kenna. Like, you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But alas, that is so funny.
That's really funny. That's my one connection to New Jersey.
And you got it. So
yeah, what can I say?
Well, thank you so much for coming on our little taste-making talk show. We're going to go through a 3-course meal of your music.
Delish.
And to start off, I would love to know, if listeners had never heard your music before, what is the appetizer to you?
The appetizer for me would probably have to be Side Effects.
Okay.
I just feel like if you've never heard my music, that's the one I would recommend.
I'm so bitter, I forget to breathe until I'm blue. I think I'll always suffer from the side effects of you.
It's the title track off my EP, and right now I feel like it really well represents where I'm at in my personal life and as an artist. Sonically, it's the direction that I took with the EP as a whole. And also I really think that, I don't know, I feel like something I've learned in the process of making this EP was when things happen to you that feel like permanent damage, I've learned to kind of take those situations as life like redirecting you and shaping you into the person that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that I get that point across with Side Effects. And I'm like most proud of it with like lyrically, structure wise.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be my appetizer.
That feels like a great representation of yourself.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear about both sides that you just mentioned, like the personal connection and the sonic like palette, what would you say is the sort of, yeah, I guess like the sonic journey of this EP that Side Effects represents?
So this is my second EP. Yeah. It's definitely been a step forward for me, as most second projects are for artists. I was kind of able to, I figured out how to like inject more of me into it, and there's definitely more of a personality aspect. With my first EP, it felt like more like, okay, I can write a song, and and I feel like that was a good representation of who I was at that point. But this has been definitely like a progression, and like with these songs, this collection of songs are songs that it would feel kind of weird to hear other people singing them. Like they fit very well with me, and I feel like I'm starting to get to a point where like I have a very clear tone and writing voice, and these songs are all very like, you can listen to them and be like, oh, that's like a Cate Tomlinson line, or like that's a Cate Tomlinson sound.
That's a beautiful thing to have found.
Yeah, it feels good. And I'm still on that journey, of course, but this is my first like project where I feel like I've taken a stab at, or it just kind of happened naturally, I guess. But it's like the first body of work that I've put out where I'm like, this is very like me in an artist package.
Yeah. I feel like Giselle and I talk about this a lot, just with like the influence of virality, like on the music industry. And it's really hard to, I think, not like get swept up in that, and to like keep injecting yourself into everything you do, and like continue to change your sound and change your voice as you as a person are growing. So it's beautiful that you are like able to connect those things in this project. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, especially in this landscape of the industry right now, I mean, like the secret is, I haven't cracked the code by any means.
No one has.
I definitely think that like that's the goal, is to, I mean, obviously, I guess, I don't know, the goal that is kind of like sold to us is to have something viral. So I guess the goal is to just keep being as like genuine to yourself as possible. So if something does catch, then you don't have to do any work on the back end to kind of like match what has gone viral, you know?
That is like the perfect point, because I think it's easy to get caught up in the fact that like, okay, this one thing went viral, let me replicate that 4 times and make that an EP, rather than let me do 4 songs that represent other parts of my life. And like, I can trust that the people that liked that song like the authentic me, and they will also like those other ones.
And I think that ties in with like social media stuff too.
Totally.
You know, since it's all intertwined these days. But I've had that same, like, as I do like social media stuff too on TikTok, and as I've kind of started exploring that path, it's really given me like a lot of perspective, or like a different perspective on how I approach music too. And it's like, the more genuine you are and the more yourself that you are, like as your audience grows, like the easier it is, like the easier your life is, like because you're only going to like expand your community like the most organically if it's just you know?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I guess that kind of taps into like the personal side of Side Effects too. But you said that you feel like this one captures where you are in your personal life as well.
I think, and I don't know, like this whole project, the way that my 2 EPs now that are out are similar is they're both from like a 1.5 year period of my life, and each song is kind of like a chapter. And I write very specifically so far in life, like from very specific experiences. And I would say that the Side Effects of You EP it's like a collection of diary entries kind of, and like stories that I probably won't, I will probably feel similarly about this EP as I do about my first EP, in terms of like I've grown past it in a couple years, and I'll look back and be like, it'll just be like reading through a diary for me, which is a little bit weird because it's like in a public space, but you know what?
That is the trade-off.
Yeah.
But you know, it works.
Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, I guess it's definitely like, I think it's such a formative time. I went to college and I graduated a little over a year ago now.
Okay.
And I think like it was the period of time that this was from was like my junior, senior, and then kind of like the 6 months after, like going into the real world. And I think that's just such a crazy time for a lot of people, like,
oh my God,
just entering into the world as a developed human or almost developed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of represents the tumultuousness, new experiences.
So chaotic.
Yeah.
Like you think you know who you are at that point, but you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Northeastern in Boston.
Oh my God. I went to Berkeley.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Giselle went to Emerson. We're all Boston girls.
Oh my gosh. Boston girls. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. What did you study?
I was a music industry major.
Okay.
And a business minor.
Very cool.
Just to keep appearances up.
Well, yes.
But yeah, I was a music industry major. I was kind of always, I was releasing music through college, but I produced my own songs, and then
that's cool.
I would get them like mixed by this really nice guy who lives in LA.
Awesome.
And so I released a couple singles through college, and then I met my producers that did my first 2 EPs my junior year.
Okay.
And then that's when I started like really kind of starting to find my sound and stuff.
That's a big thing to juggle while you're in school still.
Yeah. I mean, it was very much of like, I knew I was going to move here, and I knew that this was what I wanted to pursue. I actually didn't figure that out, like, and decide that until I was my senior year of high school when I was like 17, which I feel like I made the decision kind of late in life.
Like the decision to be an artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I've always been, I've been writing songs since I was 8. The reason I started writing was because of Victorious.
Tell me more about that.
I have to be like one of the biggest Victorious stans.
That's
like
amazing.
off the shoulder shirts in 3rd grade. I would like rip all my shirts to go down to like. But yeah, that was a really big thing for me, and I ended up putting a band together in 3rd grade with like 4 of my closest girlfriends, and I was forcing them. It was against their will. But then, yeah, I started writing songs for us, and I just never really stopped. But through high school, it was more of just a creative outlet, and I didn't used to be confident in my singing voice at all.
Okay.
I've always thought that my strength has always been my writing. And then when I was 17, I was like, well, I know that this is what I really want to do, and nobody even really knows that I'm still writing songs. And I was like, nobody's going to like magically just like tell me to do it, you know? Like, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life if I don't try. So I started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to Northeastern thinking like, okay, I might do something just like in the industry, or was it like, I'm going to be an artist?
I think maybe for the first year I was like, I had a lot of glowing up to do.
Believe me, I get that.
For lack of a better, like mentally, physically, like personality wise. I think I actually wanted to move to LA when I was 18, but I knew that I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to school, and I thought about maybe like management or something on the marketing end, or music video directing. Honestly,
cool.
If I wasn't being an artist, that's probably what I would be pursuing. But yeah, there was just a lot of growth that needed to happen before I was ready to like start releasing music seriously as my own artist project, you know?
Yeah, I do. I've been talking a lot about this recently because I like kind of opposite of you. I was like, I'm going to be an artist, like very, very young. And I like released an EP when I was 16, and it is just the most horrifying thing ever.
It's okay. I have one that I put out when I was like 17, and it's not on streaming platforms anymore.
Yeah. But then it's like, you have to make that decision. Like, am I going to do this with my life? That's a big choice. Yeah. And that was an identity crisis for me of being like, well, I guess I'll just be in the business.
Yeah.
And then obviously, of
and
course
then you can't
not.
I feel like if it's in you, it's in you. And you can try to do something else, but it's not
stifling
feel
what
right.
you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So,
well, now you're here in LA, and you started writing The Side Effects of You in LA?
Yeah, I guess, wait, that's crazy. Okay.
I'm doing the math.
Yeah, actually, okay. So, I actually wrote Side Effects. The song was the first song that I had like a concept of for the EP, and that was written when I was like a senior in college, so right before I graduated. And I initially didn't know it, even though it is like now it's my favorite song and the one that I obviously feel like best represents where I'm at right now and like me as an artist. I initially was like, I kind of want to give this to someone else. For some reason, I don't know why. That was like my first instinct. And then my producer was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? And I was like, okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. There was just, it was a little bit of a different sound from my first EP. And I guess that kind of, it's not that I didn't like it, but I don't know. It just took like some sitting with. And then I decided, I was like, this wouldn't make any sense to give it to someone else. But that one was the first one that was done. So that was my senior year. And then the rest of the other 5 I wrote in like the year after college. So like last year.
Yeah. So if Side Effects was like the catalyst for the EP, what would be like the entree or like the meat sort of this EP?
I would say The Ring of Fire.
Okay, cool.
I think that's like the coolest song I've ever written. I remember like basically like the story behind that song, I guess. There's this book called Demon Copperhead.
That is so funny because I'm waiting to finish my book I'm reading right now and then I'm starting that.
Okay, yeah, by Barbara Kingsolver.
Wow.
Basically the main character, his name is Damon, but they refer to him as Demon.
Oh.
And they say he's described to have a head of fire because he's a ginger.
All right.
I thought that really painted a picture, and I've always had this like this urge to write a song. Most of my songs are like autobiographical. This one is like a little bit nonfiction, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I haven't yet been sacrificed to Satan.
Not yet. Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah. So I remember I was driving up the 5 from LA home to the Bay, and I had been listening to the audiobook Demon Copperhead, and I was just like, that boy has a head of fire. And I was like, oh shit, this could be a really cool like old Hollywood, like
totally
falling in love with the devil in the shape of a boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that, I don't know, it's definitely like my most storytelling song, which I think ended up being really cool. And then we did, I definitely like tried some new stuff with production, or my producer did. He nailed it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What would you say are some of the like sonic influences then for this EP?
For this EP, The Ring of Fire.
Yeah, that one specifically too.
Yeah. Honestly, a little bit of like old Billie Eilish and like kind of Doja Cat, which was funny because I love Doja Cat. She's not like one of the artists I listen to like all the time, but that's just kind of like what came out. I'd say like Billie storytelling wise, Fiona Apple.
Oh,
I know that sounds kind of like
even.
Yeah, Fiona's one of my biggest writing influences. And then I guess one more sonically for that song, maybe like Tyler the Creator.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could hear that in the sounds.
Yeah.
Fiona's a really cool lyrical inspiration. She's like just so angry and like bitter about things. Like not
I can
jaded.
Relate.
Yeah. Yeah. But I hear that in Ring of Fire, which is cool because it's not like the same sonic palette at all. But I hear her
definitely
voice.
Like, I mean, she definitely like sings from like her body.
Yes, totally.
Which I like I said before, I used to really not be confident in my singing voice, and like now I'm like at peace. I'm just like I sound how I sound now, and I just think that if it comes from like inside you, then it's like people will resonate with that.
100%. I mean, first of all, you have an amazing voice, so that's crazy. But I had an old vocal coach, and she would always be like, you should take 1,000,000 takes of whatever section you're trying to get and then choose the one that is like the ugliest. And usually that's the one that's the most emotional. And like people are always going to resonate with that more than the one that like you hit all the notes and you had no like voice cracks or something.
Yeah.
More and more, I think, as we get like away from the pandemic and like, I think that was an era of like very pristine music, and now people are going back to more like rootsier, like just live stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hearing people abandon perfection.
Well, people want like something that is like real, you know?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. And I feel like that, like I feel like something is going to change we're going to see some sort of shift, like, because we're in such a viral, like, what is viral, what is hot right now, what 30 seconds of a song is like
the perfect chorus. Yeah.
And I feel like people are gonna get tired of that at some point.
Yeah.
Like people, like I just saw an interview with Jack Antonoff, and he was like, album is God, like. And I was like, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. But yeah, I hope and pray and believe that the art of albums is not dead.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
I've learned through talking with people on this podcast that it is coming back, and it is still respected, at least amongst us musicians.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will be able to have the attention span for it eventually.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. Like, my favorite songs are always like the little interludes and the shit that like is not going to go viral on TikTok, but you'll appreciate because you listened from front to back. Yeah. So, are you working towards an album?
Absolutely.
I feel like it's like 2 EPs then an album.
Yeah. I spent last fall was a really, honestly, like, difficult time in my life. Like, I just think that there are like, I mean, that's also what I don't know. It was kind of like me living through a lesson that I learned while writing the Side Effects of You EP.
Sure.
Like, life is never going to feel good all the time. And I know that, I don't know, like, I always go back to the saying, like, this too shall pass. So when it keeps me grounded when things are feeling really good.
Yeah.
And it's like inspiring when things don't feel as good. But last fall was definitely like a season of transition and kind of like evolving, I would say. I was writing a ton by myself, and I wrote some of like the best songs that I think the goal is always to outdo yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to do that for my next project.
That's awesome.
And I think it will be an album.
Wow. But I mean, on that note, I would love to know for our dessert track, like a personal favorite of yours, because you have a decent amount of music out, and I would love to know one that speaks more to you and you think should have a little bit more attention.
I honestly, I think I have to go with Like the Boys.
Okay,
for my dessert.
It makes me feel like the boys do.
That song is the lightest song, I would say, like the lightest and most like bright emotionally track off my EP. And it also obviously is about a girl. I had like this relationship with a girl towards the end of like the period of time that this EP was about that really changed my perspective on everything, kind of. And I don't know, I was talking about this with Hannah the other day, and I just watched that movie, Am I Okay? Have you seen it?
I was going to watch it on the plane ride home, and I didn't. Should I?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
It was a plane movie for me too.
Awesome.
And I was like crying like a lot. It made me, I like, not in a sad way. I just felt very seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like, also I've listened to your music. First of all, a banger.
I'll cry. Thank you.
Yeah. And I feel like you'll understand this, but when I realized I liked girls, and with my song So Cool, So Mean, that was the first song that I wrote about a girl, and that was also like the first time anyone was like hearing about that I liked a girl. So I was just kind of like, fuck it, like I guess this is how I'll let people know. But with Like the Boys, I don't know, it's been interesting territory to enter into, because it is like it's so like close to who I am, and it's like such a raw experience for me that it's been really cool to be able to see it resonate with other people who have maybe gone through the same thing that I have. And I don't know, that I'd say that was like one of the most pivotal moments for me in this period of time, like that experience. And I think it's like watching that movie like reminded me how important it is for like art to, I don't know, like tell some of the stories that are like may feel like scary to share sometimes, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
I completely relate to that because I took that sort of like light, almost comedic approach with Soft, but it was also like the first song I was ever putting out, and it was like very much about like a gay situation, and like I was out, but it's still, even though it feels very light to listen to it, for me it's like that is so vulnerable, and it's beautiful when people connect with it and you're like, oh my God, like
it was like a relief for me to listen to that. Yeah. I was really excited to come talk to you actually, because I was like, oh, she gets it. And I'm bi, and I think that, and I say I'm bi because I think that is like the label that best fits me right now in like this stage of my life. But I don't really like, I mean, that's the other thing about like being bi and writing about girls and boys. It's also been kind of like, for the most part, I'm not like big enough to have like negative feedback, I would say, but like there are some comments that are kind of like, well, I wish that you didn't compare what you feel about a girl to what you feel about a boy. And I'm like, well, then the song wouldn't exist. Like I go both ways. Like but yeah, that is also, it's been a very interesting journey to like go through this kind of like like finding myself, I guess, while I'm releasing music that that I'm subjecting to public opinion, and it's been an like kind of a mind fuck sometimes, but
the bi erasure is crazy. It's so wild. I was bi for a while. I didn't realize that I was a lesbian for a while. People are going to say so many things, but I think that like the one DM out of like 10 people being like, don't write about boys, the one person that's like, thank you so much for writing about my experience, like that just always makes up for everything.
100%.
So that I love that you have that song, and it's one of those ones that you can listen to in like such a light, like windows down sort of way, but also like this is my experience, and it's also heavy sort of way. So thank you for writing it.
Oh my gosh.
For our community,
I couldn't
too.
not. But yeah, that was definitely that was an overwhelming time of my life in a good way. But
learning things about yourself and also telling the world about them. Just the normal everyday experience. But amazing. Well, I have a couple of closing questions.
Please.
I would love to know, if your music was a candle, what it would smell like.
Oh my God, I love this question. Oh my God, Chris is gonna hate me for this. Santal 33.
Stop.
I'm drenched in it as we speak.
Amazing.
When I was in college, the frats would be like, we knew you were here because we smelled you.
It's very recognizable,
Yeah, and I have Santal 33 candles all over my house.
Amazing.
In my room. Yes.
I always tell this story of how the first restaurant I worked at in West Hollywood, I had to light a bunch of Santal 33 candles and then blow them out after 45 minutes because they were too expensive to leave burning all night.
No, I light it for 15 minutes before bed and I have to blow it out. And then you have to, you can't go to sleep right after you've blown it out because then you like miss the like aura of the candle.
You have to like journal in the smoke of it.
Yeah. So you have to like blow it out like 20 minutes before you hit the pillow.
That's so real.
Yeah.
Amazing. My second question is, I would love to know your favorite sound at the moment, like a life sound.
Okay.
Like not a music sound.
Yeah, no, I got you. Okay, I'm thinking. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Probably like a light switch.
Ooh.
Like a
very good.
Like a full click.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah.
It's like a robust light switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not one of those like flippy ones. That's like a fickle light switch.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the rectangular, you like, it's like a thick click.
You put your back into it. Yeah. A thick click.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, my very final question is, I would love to know who your ones to watch are. Who are you listening to that I should also be listening to?
Henry Morris.
Oh, yes.
I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah.
I've been listening to his new album like the last 3 months. I think that's my one.
He's good. He's amazing. He's like Lana Del Rey, but also not.
But a guy.
Yeah.
And like cool. I'm not, oh my God, Lana Del Rey is like been my top artist for 6 years in a row.
I respect.
He's like guy Lana Del Rey.
Yeah. Very vibey.
Putting out bangers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Once again, this is Once to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby Kenna, and this is Cate Tomlinson. Check out, I just forgot the name of your EP.
The Side Effects of You.
The Side Effects of You. I was going to say, There's Always Something, which is just simply not the right name at all. Listen to it and remember the name.